Hey all, this is Dor. I'm here in Zurich, Switzerland, and I want to talk to you about emotional healing. And I start with a little story. I was in Portugal and I joined this trainer team, and I could not bring myself into joining the meetings. I was a nomad back then. I was late all the time. I needed to find all these cafe places with Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi never worked. Like my phone used to turn off in the middle of the meeting, and I was sweating the whole time. Even when I was there, I was just couldn't be focused, couldn't be centered. I was just something that I didn't know what's going on. I could not just be present in the meetings. And there was a bunch of other trainers there, and I had all these emotions coming up. And eventually, a trainer talked to me and told me, "Hey, why don't you do an emotional healing process?" And of course, in possibility management, it's kind of obvious, and that's what you're doing, and that's actually what I did almost every week, every 2 weeks in the last 4 years or so. But back then I did only a couple of them, and it wasn't so obvious to me, and I was scared. Emotional healing process, where I'm gonna even do it? I didn't have a place. I was staying in hostels and stuff. So I ended up saying yes, and I rented a car, and I did the emotional healing process in the car, and we did it on Zoom. Yes, it works on Zoom. And this trainer was on the other line, and he guided me into the emotional healing process. And later in the video, I'm going to talk more about how it looks. But in that moment, I went into these big feelings that I had. I had a big fear and big sadness and a big anger, and pretty fast he recognized that all these emotions are mixed together, which is a mixed emotion. And we did an emotional healing process called unmixing emotions. So I started to unmix my emotion. It's like a very intense process. It's big, it's painful. You go deep there. It's like almost feel like, like almost like falling into something or jumping out of a high cliff into the water. It's like it's kind of like going into the unknown. So I'm separating these big emotions, and I realized suddenly this memory came up, and when it came up, it was so clear. I was like, how did I even forget this memory? And it was me in when I was 5 years old, before primary school, and I was in the kindergarten, and I was about to go to primary school, and my parents came, and they had this conversation with the kindergarten teacher, because I was very young for my age. I was born in December, in the late, the end of the year. And so they talked to her about maybe leaving me a year in kindergarten, which what happens eventually. And in the healing process, suddenly this memory came up and all the emotion that I had back then. And I had huge fear. I'm going to be stuck here forever in this kindergarten. Like, what's going on? I don't know who decide these things even. And I had anger about my parents and my kindergarten teacher. Like, why do they decide this stuff, these grown-ups? And I had a lot of sadness, like all my new friends, I just met them and they're already leaving, and I'm going to stay alone, and I'm going to need to meet new people. So I had all this sadness, and all these emotions got mixed together, and it created this, there's just a disgusting emotion in my stomach, like something that I wanted to get rid of. It doesn't feel comfortable. Maybe you know what I'm talking about from your life. It's just something that you want to kind of like get rid of. And I realized that this is exactly the same emotion that I had when I was joining the trainer team. Every time I had this mixed emotion, it was exactly that. So it was not surprised that we went down and find that. And because it was such an experienced, great space holder, he also guided me to discover my old decisions. So I made some old decisions back then. And my old decisions were, I would never be like these grown-ups. I would never grow up. I would never collaborate with grown-ups. And I would not show up to the things that they do. And after you hear that, you're probably not surprised why I could not be in the trainer team, why I could not be in the space. Because I had all these old decisions that I even forgot about. And of course, after the emotional healing process, it was really clear. Like, I remember it happened, but I forgot making these old decisions. So to keep the story short, I'm just gonna say that, like, I made new decisions, and then eventually I could come to the meeting, I could be present. My whole energy shifted, like all this weird stuff that happened, it's like completely shifted. I could be present and I could be an adult in the space. So I want to share with you a little bit in this video how this emotional healing works and what are the different ways of doing emotional healing, and also why would you even do it? Like, what is the benefit of that? So when we talk about healing your emotions, what are we talking about? So as a human being, you have feelings, and feelings are these natural things that meant to guide you, like a compass, meant to guide your boat into the, the place that you need to go. And if you're a great navigator of your feelings, there's no problem. You get the information that every time a new feeling comes up, you get the information behind it, you can use it, you can see it, you can listen to it, and then you get to navigate your life, no problem. But if you grew up in modern culture, probably most chances that you didn't get any training, and actually your compass was broken and been stepped on again and again as you grew up in modern culture. And so not only that you didn't naturally learn to use your feelings and emotions, you're also, you're pushed out, you're guided to not use them and not to meet even your compass, your internal compass.
Yes, it does. You're sitting on it.
Beg pardon?
So when these feelings during your life got stuck, we call that emotions. So you didn't get the information, maybe the feeling was too big, that you cannot feel it, in places in your life that you had like extreme experiences. Maybe, for example, you needed to read your homework in front of the whole class, and the fear was too big. So the fear got stuck. You could not feel your fear, you just froze. And of course, nobody was there to hold space for you, because teachers are not trained into hold space for emotions. And maybe even you could not express the feelings. You never grew up in an environment that anyone expresses their feelings consciously. So you didn't know even how to do that. So then the feeling got stuck, and that's what we call an emotion. Emotions are stuck feelings that are stuck in the past. Now, these stuck emotions are great. They're great doorways for you, because behind them, there is a treasure. They got stuck with this information, like you remember in my story that I didn't even remember what happened. So they stuck with this information, with these all decisions that you made, with all the agreements, with maybe energetic blocks. It got stuck with all these treasures together, that today you can use them in the form of transformation, which means you get to transform them. One example is make new decisions, or removing energetic blocks, or breaking these old agreements that you made. And really, when you get the information that the emotion was there for you this whole time, you get new energy. It's like you free up all this energy that your system, your emotional body, used to suppress all these emotions. These people that are always tired because they always suppress their unconscious anger. So now you get to get this energy back, and that is called transformation. That is called cataxis. And this is a bit different than what you might have learned about emotions, because usually what you learn is that you need to release emotions. Like, I have an emotion, how can I release it? I have anger, how can I get rid of the anger? I have fear, how can I get rid of the fear? How can I overcome the fears? And there's all sorts of technologies that exist until now, that because we didn't have the technology of healing emotions, and we didn't have those distinctions, like for example, between feelings and emotions, we use these old technologies to just release the energy. For example, the Osho meditation, where you just jump and you just release all the energy, or punching a bag, or screaming into the pillow, even just going home and crying after a day of work. You just release all the energy, but you don't get the information that was there behind the energy. So when I'm talking about emotional healing, I'm actually talking about transforming the energy, using the information and using the emotions. And then next time when they come in the form of feelings. So in that area, the feelings wouldn't get stuck anymore. For example, like I gave you in the meeting, when I was there in a meeting, once the emotions were behind it was gone, now it was just basically using my adult feelings, my natural feelings. And if you want to know more about emotions and feelings, I have a video about it, and you can check it out below. It's called the 4 feelings. But I want to touch more about the emotional healing process and the difference between cataxis and catharsis. Catharsis is releasing your emotions, and even like going to the psychologist and talking about the emotions, like almost like trying to tire them down, or other technologies that we have, just like watching a scary movie. So you scream and you use all the energy of the fear, but you don't get the information that when it got stuck. Or, taking drugs, going ecstatic in the party, and you just go to all this huge joy, but you don't get the information that was stuck behind your joy from childhood. Or even before then. Okay, when I'm saying before then, it might sound a bit weird, and you might want to watch the archetypal journey video that I just did about it, but it might be stuck in different archetypal domains that you had before.
May I finish?
Oh, you're lucky. Wish I was hung.
Kill the filthy pirate. I'll wait.
But which is first?
I'm not a witch. Will you not listen?
Enough! Kill them both!
So some of the emotional healing process go there. Now, there's different kind of emotional healing. And I'm going to talk about 3 kinds of emotional healing. And some of them work together. Some of them happen at the same time, but some of them can happen separately. And some of them are more appropriate to different situations, different people. Now the disclaimer: I don't recommend you to do anything. I don't want you to try anything. I'm doing this video basically to open doorways and to bring more light into this, into emotional healing and what it is. And if it's for you, go ahead and do your own research. And if not, I'm not trying to be right here, like go do whatever works for you. And you don't have to watch this video. So I'm going to go into the different kind of healing that I found, the emotional healing. So I'm going to start with the second kind of healing. And the second kind of healing is about emotional healing processes. And they originate from this work called possibility management. That's where I learned them. That's where I see the work. I do them a lot with my clients, and my clients do them with their clients. And we're doing them all the time. Basically, they're great. It's fully conscious. It's not like hypnosis or something. You're fully in control. You're just basically going and doing the natural thing of feeling your own feelings and emotions. And as I told in the story, there's this emotional healing process can be a bit nonlinear. They can go into different places. So to navigate them, you need a space holder. You need someone that can hold space and navigate space for you to go to this emotional healing process. And you can get some experience about it, but actually you can go ahead and already, like after you did a few of them, I recommend to do like 10 of them for yourself. And then you can already start holding spaces for other people. And you can only hold as far as you can hold for yourself. So you're gonna get the client that, that they can go deep as you're going deep. You're not gonna get clients that can go deeper than you. And if they are, these processes are fully responsible. So basically, differently from, from other kinds of mythology and stuff, the client is fully radically responsible for their process. So I'm not doing anything unconscious. Every time I'm conscious, and then I can take radical responsibility for where this is going. So I'm talking about this in the context of usually experienced space holder. Like for example, when I do an emotional healing process and someone that holds space for me doesn't have so much experience, I can navigate also myself. But it helps to have someone to navigate for you, because a lot of the time we have a lot of strategies that we built to not go to our emotions and feeling, and not to feel them, because the emotions are too big, they were stuck there for too long, and we're scared to go there. And sometimes even feelings, we have this numbness bar, we numb ourselves from even feelings. So it's great to have a space holder to, to help you navigate in this emotional healing process. Now I'm going to add here a little example of emotional healing process that is happening. You can go and watch this video. It's a first time emotional healing process that I did for someone. It doesn't go really deep, like some of these processes, they go really deep, like someone can really cry and go into fear, like 100% fear. By the way, another distinction is this feeling can only go from 0 to 100%. They cannot be more than that. So, it's only what you can feel. So some of these processes can go really big, really intense, and this healing process is kind of a first time. So, emotionally it doesn't look that it went really deep, but I know that it really helped. And you can see how it looks like. You have a space holder, you sit in front of them, you're making all these agreements, like what's the exchange, how much time it's going to take. And usually it's between 20 minutes to an hour and a half. And you get to navigate your emotions, and you come out on the other side with new decisions, new clarity. You get more of your energy back. And it's actually kind of an initiation for your adulthood, an initiation for you to take responsibility for your emotions. Because like I said before, they're treasures really for you. Now, there's a lot to learn about emotional healing processes, and there's a lot of experience to get when you navigate them, and there's a lot of distinctions that go into that. And what I recommend is really to read a website about it. It is really great from Possibility Management, and they have all the distinctions there. But what I wanted to talk to you more in this video about, and before we get to the two different other kinds of healing, is where would you want to take an emotional healing process? And so a lot of times when the emotions are really big, the emotion is you had like a big event in your life that is stuck and it keeps repeating on himself. Emotions are, one distinctions about them is they stay for more than 3 minutes. So that's how you know it's an emotion and not a feeling. For example, if I walk in the street and I see someone throws plastic into the ocean, I feel it as a feeling, and I go and I tell them, give them a boundary, you don't throw plastic on earth. And, and the feeling goes away. And all of that is in less than 3 minutes. If this emotion, then I would be angry at this person all day. I would keep thinking in my head, oh, how could he do that? And it's probably something from my past that, someone in my life threw garbage and something like that. So that's the difference between feelings and emotions. And if you have a big emotion, like something really big that happened to you in your life, I would go for an emotional healing process like that, which I call the second kind of healing. Because you have a space holder, you have the space for it, you can do several of them. Usually if it's a big one, there's a few layers to it. And you really go into that. So let's go to the third kind of healing. And the third kind of healing is integrative healing, which means you integrate something in your system that is part of the healing process, but it's not going, it's not really processing that. It's not really processing the emotion that happened. It's more integrating the healing. So it can happen a lot of times before and after the emotional healing process. And it can happen naturally. Actually, most of your life, what you did is probably you did just integrative healing to yourself. So for example, going into nature, being in nature, putting your feet in the river, just wash yourself, wash your energetic body, resting, sleeping, eating healthy food, just talking to someone, having a great conversation. Like, before I go to a training that I know that I'm going to go through a lot of emotional healing processes, I prepare my system in this way. I do a lot of integrative healing. For example, I stop talking to connections that are not very conscious. I keep my system very clean. I keep all my bodies very clean. I start to, also like making your body stronger. The whole Kung Fu thing, it's like a strong spirit. A strong body means a strong spirit. Like that. That is all integrative healing. And it's really healing. It's healing your system, and it's great to do that as much as possible. It's not the only thing in life, right? But why not? And you can do integrative healing also. It happens a lot at the end of processes. So even in the end of traditional ceremonies, the whole village comes together. You just did this crazy initiation, or you did this big healing process, and the whole tribe come together and just bring intimacy, bring softness to wrap you. And that's integrative healing. Or after emotional healing processes that we do a lot of time, we recommend for people, just go out to nature, just be with yourself, don't have too much superficial conversation, drink a lot of water, rest, be kind to yourself. And all this stuff that you do, like even silent meditations, being in silent, the whole Vipassana thing, a lot of times it's about integrative healing. So all this stuff that is kind to your system. So it can be in the beginning, it can be in the end, and it's non-linear. You can do your whole life integrative healing, preparing you to go on a lifetime journey of emotional healing processes. So that's what I call the third kind of healing. And the first kind of healing is direct healing. I'm afraid of a scorpion. I'm just going to go ahead and touch the scorpion. I'm just going to try. I'm just going to come near the scorpion. I'm just going to look at scorpions from afar. There is like this jump over here that you jump into the water. And I used to have a lot of fear of heights. Now, this was not a feeling, right? Of course, then I'm going to have fear of heights as a feeling, because my fear is valuable information that prevents me from jumping from cliffs and die. So there is the feeling of fear about that, which can, by the way, it can happen in the same time. Like the feeling of fear and emotion of fear can happen at the same time as a lot of time. But, I used to have emotion of fear of heights. It happened to me at a certain point, and I got this emotion every time I go to high places. I get fear in it, and this fear doesn't end after 3 minutes. It's this like irrational fear. It doesn't end when I get off the ledge. It's like, So one way that I used to deal with this fear is I just slowly started to jump in from high places. So for example, here in this river, it's a really cool river, there is a little, there's a little jump. And the first time I went there, I felt all this emotional fear. And it's also came, usually this emotional fear, they're connected. It's like, oh, and everyone is looking at me. It's another emotional fear. So, one way to do it in direct healing, in the first kind of healing, is just, you just do it. So I start to feel my emotional fear, and I jump. Now, when you will not do the direct healing, when the fear is too big, like it's an experience that you had, and it's too big for you, and maybe it's gonna get worse. So really, to do the first kind of healing, direct healing, you need to either be very trained in that, like to do it for many years and experience that by yourself, or have a coach that can, accompany you in doing those direct healing experiments. Because it's also, there's something about direct healing that the more that you do that, you're more trusting the direct healing form. And, it's like that. It's like you fall out of the horse, you get up on the horse. It's like this kind of an emotion healing. And actually, I don't know about a lot of research. I know that it's very kind of simple, and it sounds simple, but I don't know about a lot of research that includes that healing. So if you have more clarity about that kind of healing, you're welcome to share that. None of this is a closed-end research. It's all open-end, so you can use it. And also, a lot of the time, the first kind of healing, the direct healing, we use it after emotional healing processes, after the second kind of healing. How do we do that? For example, you make a new decision after the emotional healing process, like, I'm the source of possibilities. Like that was one of my new decisions after I did the emotional healing process when I decided to not grow up. My new decision was, I am my source of possibilities. And then the space holder, his coaching was, go and tell this new decision to 3 people. So it's also kind of direct healing. You go and do something about this. So you already become an adult, use the new distinction, use the healing, and bring it into the world. And I think these 3 kinds of healing can really work together and bring you to great results. If you have any questions about it, and I'm sure you have a lot, because there's so much I didn't say in this video, so you're welcome to write them here below. And yeah, also feel free to connect, feel free to subscribe, and ring the amazing bell here so you can get noticed every time I put out new videos. And if you want to go through this emotional healing process yourself and you want to try it, you can write to me. Maybe I'm available to hold space for you. And I'm part of a team that is great in holding spaces, so you can find someone else in my teams to do one of these kinds of healings for you. And really, I hope you have a great life, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and keep navigating your feelings and emotions, and be with them, and find your treasures. Thank you.